One of the most hyped things I've been waiting for the past couple years at this point, because I was a Ricoh GR2 owner. I owned that camera for almost like 2 years, probably about a year and a half, 2 years before I moved on. I really enjoyed that camera and what it did for street photography, being pocketable, but there were little things wrong with it. The autofocus wasn't that great, and I primarily like autofocus, and just a couple other things, but the community who's into these type of cameras has been waiting for the Ricoh GR3 to come out. It finally did. I've had this for just about a month at this point. I've been shooting it pretty much exclusively. Really just getting used to it and just having some fun with it, and to see if it was just like the GR2. It is, and it's better. And I just wanted to say, I did not buy this camera. B&H Photo did send it out for review, but they did not pay or compensate in any way, and I'm free just to say what I like and not like about this camera. I've literally got about 10 points that are pros and about 7 or so that are cons. Let's talk about them a little bit, and then, is this really a street photography legend, king, the new king, whatever you want to call it, in 2019? Now, the one thing a lot of people like about this is that it is so small. It has a crop sensor in it, so it's not like a small 1-inch sensor, and it is very pocketable. There is no profile on this thing. It is so small, it's so easy to do. It's easy just to hold around. It's obviously not that heavy, and you can just slide it into even a jean pocket, even though I wouldn't trust the material a ton, but like a front hoodie pocket or something like that. Easy to take in and out of a bag. But it does have a newer 24 megapixel sensor in it, and I do see kind of an increase in resolution a little bit with that. The GR2 did have an older 16 megapixel sensor. It's really not all about the pixels and everything like that, and the higher is always better, but I did see an improvement a ton with the GR3. Two things that I also liked that I liked that were kind of kept and that was improved was that it still has a built-in ND filter, ND for neutral density, so you don't have to go out get some external filter or figure that out in any way. You can put it on in camera. You can really get those shallow depth of field in very bright light outside, so you can use your 2.8 and still get about, I think it's 2 or 3 stops cutting it down for your ND. But the autofocus, like I was mentioning, of the GR2 wasn't amazing in my opinion. It was slow and a little bit clunky. It has been vastly improved with the GR3, and it's kind of very almost instant and snappy a little bit. I did notice a little bit maybe if you're kind of looking in the shadows, like if you're trying to expose for sun in a very dark environment, it will struggle just a little bit at range. But other than that, it's very close, very snappy. Pretty good. The one other improvement on this is now the back is a touchscreen, so you could easily navigate the menus. It's full capacity. It's not a tilt screen. I don't think something like this needs that, but you could easily and very responsibly move around the autofocusing point within this if you shoot autofocus, not like zone or something, and it responds very well, and I think that's amazing. There is a con I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but the touchscreen, I don't think it was needed at all, but it's there, and it's very good. I also looked at his USB-C charging. USB-C is pretty much becoming more the universal norm at this point, and you can still charge it with a portable battery charger on the go as well. And with the kind of poor battery life, which I'll cover, yeah, I think it's kind of key. I needed to bring this out when I was out a couple days, and I was lucky I had like my 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack. But it's good that you could do it. Battery capacity is not great, but USB-C is good. And kind of like we have the GR2, you have your normal shooting mode, but then you still have your 35 millimeter and 50 millimeter crop mode as well. And essentially it's just taking the full readout of the sensor, and you'll see the your bars kind of just zoom in a little bit and zoom in just to emulate what that look will like. But speaking of the image quality and stuff like that, it is still using that same 18.3 or 28 millimeter lens, f2.8, as it did with the GR2. I think it's a very great focal length for the type of camera like this, so I could see why they didn't change it. But the big thing a lot of people talk about is the lens, because that's how dust and debris and stuff can get into the camera. Now, I've never had a problem with my GR2 where I was getting dust on the sensor or anything like that, and that was a common complaint that some people did say, is that they were noticing their sensor was dirty, and that's because of the electronics. When you obviously turn this camera on and off, it is, sucking in and, unsucking air at that point and getting that on the sensor. But they did add basically a shake reduction on this thing, so that way the sensor can shake off the little dust and that problem has been alleviated. Really, three last big points before I cover some of the cons is that you are able to get a wide angle lens conversion for something like this. It's like a 0.75 times magnification, and it's not very drastic in that regards. I'm gonna have a separate video specifically reviewing that as well, just to show you more specifically. And here it is right here. This is the wide angle lens conversion right here. It is a bit front heavy for a very, very small camera that is super light. But other than that, that's not a big deal to me. Really good. It shoots RAW files and DNG. Your digital negatives, very universally readable. Absolutely like that. But what I liked about the GR2 is the same here. Very, very fast on and off. Because the battery life isn't so great, you're able to easily snap it on, snap it off whenever you want, to easily get a shot that you want if you shoot that way. But the camera's kind of been cleaned up. It's a lot more, I think, user-friendly. It's very easy to adapt a couple of your favorite settings and everything, easy menus, easy navigation, and the button layout, I think, is super easy to learn as well and very versatile. That's a lot of what I like about this camera, and I think why it's a very, very good buy. Once again, the price, I'm going to talk about in a second, is kind of the deterrent for a lot of people compared to what Fuji has out there. But let's talk a little bit about what I didn't like about the camera. So the price of this little, very versatile guy right here is $900. The wide angle adapter, $250. The adapter, $50. So you're getting over $1,000 for something like this. And is it worth it at that point? It's tough to justify when you have the GR2, which has a lot of similar features, for, about $300 to $500 less. That being said, I would absolutely upgrade if I had the GR2, just because you could still get probably $400 or so for that camera, $450 used, so you don't have to put a ton more into it if you're already in the line and you're looking for a vast improvement, which I said is very, very good for the autofocusing system. I did mention the battery life. It's supposed to be go up to like 320 shots, but I did find that the battery capacity did run rather quickly, and I did have to charge through USB-C and really go from there. Other than that, I think it's about the same as the GR2 in that regards. I had to have 2 or 3 batteries for that. But yeah, so don't expect amazing life. Don't always keep the camera on, in my opinion. And go from there. Another thing I really didn't like is the resolution of the back screen. Now, I know it's not supposed to be amazing. It's this little 3-inch screen, but even comparing it to like an X100 screen or like an X Pro 2, which is obviously a little bit bigger for that matter, you can really see a difference in resolution. It's not 100% sharp in that regards. It does what it needs to do. It's not as bad as like an XE3 for that matter, but just know it's not super amazing. It could be a little off-putting. Now, there is an improvement with the macro mode, but for me, it still found a little bit struggling when trying to achieve focus with it. I know you can get, once again, you can get a little bit closer compared to what the GR2 has. I found it struggling even on, still subjects to achieve focus, and hunted a little bit even though you were at the proper distance. So I don't know what was on or off about that point, but hit the little flower button to show macro, and you get in that mode, but make sure you're out of that mode when you return to normal, or else the distance is going to mess up what you want to achieve. I'm just saying the video isn't that great in this thing. You're still at 1080p. Do not buy this camera for video whatsoever. The big thing I know a lot of people are going to hate, and you're missing right about here, is the on-camera built-in flash. To me, I don't care. I've never really used it, but I know a lot of people in the Ricoh community that really enjoyed that. It's gone. You kind of have to deal with it. If that's a big deal for you, the GR2 still has it. That's not going away anytime soon. You can't just physically remove it. Go with that in that regards, but it's not on this camera. And once again, from the community, a lot of people liked it though. Lastly but not leastly, the one big thing going around, but I did notice it, and I'm just kind of mentioning it. To me, I think it's overblown, is a whole wobbly back dial thing. So people would say that the back dial here would wobble. I don't get any of that. I think it's just a reason for someone to try and really hate it. It doesn't affect your pictures in any way, and it really doesn't do much. I mean, I guess I do get, you won't really see, I'll try to close up, a little bit of a wobble, but I think that's just how it's supposed to be built. And I think the criticism a little crazy on that. To me, I think the Ricoh GR3 really kind of reclaimed its title as like being one of the top street photography cameras, especially in 2019, because of what it offers, how pocketable it is, how versatile it is, and for the price. It's not like you're paying, maybe, $5,000 for like the Leica Q2, which is also an amazing camera in itself. A lot of everyday users, street photography users who want to spend that little bit more money, a lot bit more money. Really like that for street photography as well. It gives you those crop in modes as well, and a little bit more. I think it gives you that 70mm N2, but the GR2 for the price still under $1,000 really is a very, very good buy, and I highly recommend it. And once again, I'm going to have a link below, either in a pinned post or in the description. So if you want to check it out, go for that. I'm still thinking about adding the Ricoh GR3 personally because I had a very, very good time shooting it. I don't know what else to say. It's very good. If you're into it, check it out. It's pretty amazing. And I did like the wide angle, even though that is severely overpriced in my opinion, and the adapter as well. And they shouldn't be sold separately. If anything, $250 together, not an extra $50 just because you can milk it out a little bit. So that's a bit unethical. But everything else, GR3, pretty exciting. Hopefully the flash doesn't throw you off a little bit. It's a very, very good camera.